For regular videos on ancient cultures and forgotten civilizations, please subscribe. Hi, I'm answering voicemails. Let's give one a listen. This one's from Robert from Czechia.
Hello, Dr. Miano. Greetings from Czechia. I'd like to ask what is your opinion on the paper about the Mataha Expedition, which identifies the Hawara pyramid with the legendary lost labyrinth described by Herodotus, Strabo, and others. According to the paper, they found large underground structure, but the results were stopped from being published by the Egyptian Supreme Council of Antiquities under the leadership of Dr. Zahi Hawass. Is there any truth to it? Thanks.
The famed lost labyrinth of Egypt. It was still standing in the days of the ancient writers that you mentioned, and they speak of it as a beautiful structure, rivaling even the pyramids. Sadly, today, it's no longer there. We owe it entirely to classical sources and archaeological excavation that we have any knowledge of the building at all. Where did this structure once stand? As you said, it's at Hawara, which is a necropolis in the southeastern Fayum region of Egypt. It is at this site that Amenemhet III, the last great king of the 12th dynasty in the Middle Kingdom, constructed a large cult complex, in which the king was worshipped as a god after his death. Still visible there are the remains of the king's pyramid. Many of the classical writers credit Amenemhet III as the builder, referring to him either as Mendes, Maris, Moteris, Moeris, Nemesis, Imandes, or Lamares. And this has been confirmed by excavation on the site, which brought to light the cartouches of Amenemhet III. And we know the pyramid was built by him. And Strabo says the tomb and the labyrinth were built by one and the same person. The site of the labyrinth was located at Hawara in the 1840s by the Prussian expedition of Richard Lepsius, though Lepsius found mostly Roman tombs there, which he misidentified as older. In 1888, Flinders Petrie started to excavate there. He found some sensational Roman portrait panel paintings, but he found very little of the labyrinth itself. He returned in 1911 and again found more Roman portrait paintings, but sadly there just wasn't much of anything left of the labyrinth. Petrie published his results and also depicted partial reconstructions of the labyrinth, based mainly on what the classical authors wrote about it. Very little depended on the evidence he found for the original architecture, because there just wasn't that much there. Since then, no official excavation has been carried out in the labyrinth, though some shorter expeditions from the Antiquity Service have dug in the necropolis of Hawara, and a Belgian mission surveyed the site. Without much to look at archaeologically, is it possible to tell what it looked like? Perhaps. There are 6 classical writers who speak of the labyrinth: Herodotus, Manetho, Diodorus Siculus, Strabo, Pliny the Elder, and Pomponius Mela. The only 2 of these who we can be sure visited the site and know firsthand what it looked like are Herodotus, who says so explicitly, and Strabo. Strabo visited Egypt in the company of the prefect Aelius Gallus, and we have his express statement that this visit included a trip to the shrine of the sacred crocodile at Arsinoe, which is in the immediate vicinity of the labyrinth. It's quite clear from the accounts which we have that the Egyptian labyrinth was an extremely intricate structure, and this seems perfectly adequate reason for the word labyrinthos in Greek to be applied to it. Some years ago, Narashuga Shioda and Wolfram Grajecki from the Center for Advanced Spatial Analysis, University College London, employed VR, virtual reality technologies, to construct VR models of the Hawara labyrinth and presented its probable forms in 3D. The first reconstruction they did is based on a drawing by Petrie, and the second based on parallels from other mortuary temples of pharaonic times, as well as descriptions by classical authors. What was the purpose of the labyrinth? The classical sources are divided on this question. Herodotus says it was a memorial, Diodorus says it was a tomb, Pliny says a temple, Strabo says an administrative center. They all agree, however, that the labyrinth was made of stone, and in ancient Egypt, we know that buildings made entirely of stone were either tombs or temples. The labyrinth was probably not a tomb, because in the Middle Kingdom, the king's tombs were pyramids. And, in fact, Amenemhet III's pyramid tomb is right next to it. So the labyrinth was probably a temple. Still, we can't ignore the fact that Herodotus was told during his visit that there were kings interred in the subterranean chambers of the monument. What this suggests is that tombs may well have been excavated in the building, but this would have been centuries after its initial construction. Because he says kings from the Dodecarchy, which is the 26th dynasty, were entombed there. From the late New Kingdom forward, it was quite common for royal tombs to be built within the precinct of major shrines. Now, let me read to you a passage from Herodotus regarding the labyrinth. He writes, "It has 12 roofed courts, with doors facing one another, 6 to the north and 6 to the south, and in a continuous line. One wall on the outside encompasses them all. There are double sets of chambers in it, some underground and some above, and their number is 3,000. There are 1,500 of each. We ourselves saw the above-ground chambers, for we went through them, and so can talk of them. But the underground chambers we can speak of only from hearsay, for the officials of the Egyptians entirely refused to show us these, saying that there were in them the coffins of the kings who had builded the labyrinth at the beginning, and also those of the holy crocodiles. So we speak from hearsay of these underground places, but what we saw above ground was certainly greater than all human works." Note how he says that he was told that there were subterranean chambers, but that he did not see them. It's difficult to accept this as it stands. Flinders Petrie dug down quite a way in various spots, and his excavation revealed a bed of stone debris to a depth of 6 feet. A lot of this material is probably the result of surface destruction, locals stealing the stone. So it's hard to imagine how he could have missed subterranean chambers. If 1,500 underground chambers ever existed, surely some at least would have survived. Since Herodotus never saw them, we have to wonder how well he understood the person who told him, or how much that person actually knew. Maybe when Herodotus was told of these vaults, he assumed, with his characteristic tendency to over-schematize things, that these chambers formed a series of subterranean chambers, analogous to those which he saw above ground. With that background info out of the way, let's get to what you really wanted to know about, the Mataha Expedition, as it is called. The source of this information is Louis de Cordier, an artist from Belgium. He claims to be the organizer of the expedition and describes its members as, quote, "a total project mixing geophysicists, archaeologists, astronomers, geomorphologists, artists, Egyptologists, communicators," what kind I don't know, "art curators, authors, aerospace, and civil engineers to create an innovative way of research." Louis de Cordier felt that both the artist and scientist share the common belief in the impossible. Although his professions appear to be on the opposite side of the logic-creativity spectrum, he recognized that they often use a similar language to communicate their ideas. They are both highly visual, comfortable with the abstract, and focused on the unknown, unquote. I certainly think an interdisciplinary approach is good, as long as the disciplines are pertinent. This was a collaboration chiefly between the NRIAG, that's the National Research Institute of Astronomy and Geophysics, in Cairo, which provided the scientists, and Ghent University in Belgium, which provided, as far as I can tell, the artists, art curators, authors, and communicators. De Cordier says the funds that he contributed to the project were from the sales of the Golden Sun Disk, a timepiece designed by Louis de Cordier to ignite the global fire of comprehensive awareness and awakening. Permission for the research was given by the Supreme Council of Antiquities of Egypt, and the purpose of the geophysical research was for conservation purposes. They wanted to map the underground to prepare for the integration of a huge drainage system to protect the location against the environmental effects of salty groundwater. Now, Louis de Cordier may have had other motives for going in there, namely to find the legendary lost labyrinth, but that was not the reason the NRIAG did their work, nor was it the reason the Council of Antiquities gave permission for the work. The results of the GPR scan were published in the NRIAG Journal of Astronomy and Astrophysics in late 2008. I wasn't able to find a copy of this, but the results were also published in the Chinese Journal of Geophysics in 2010, and that I was able to find. The names of the scientists on the paper match those given by Decordier. There is nothing in this paper about finding the lost labyrinth. It's all about the subsurface water and its effects. There was also a public lecture given at Ghent University in which the results were shared. I do not know if at that lecture claims were made about the discovery of a lost labyrinth below the ground, but it's possible. From what I can tell, it's only Decordier and his artist friends who have been making such a claim and not the scientists themselves. On his website, Decordier published a paper on the discovery, and one of the things you will notice about it immediately is that it is in no way a scientific paper. There is no scientific presentation of the data, as you find in the paper published by the NRIAG. Most of Decordier's paper is about the legend itself and the archaeology. He provides only one image of a scan, which he says shows the existence of an underground labyrinth. This is it here. To me, these look like natural formations. I'd be interested to hear your opinion. Let me know your take in the comments. But if this is all he's got, his evidence is rather underwhelming. My guess is that when he saw the scans, he suggested to the scientists that this was evidence of a labyrinth, and they told him it was unlikely. But he wouldn't let it go, and he kept telling people that the expedition discovered the labyrinth. This probably irked a lot of people involved. He makes an interesting comment in his paper, which has attracted some attention. He says, since the release of the scan results at the Ghent University public lecture, Dr. Zahi Hawass requested to stop communicating our results, intimidating the Mataha Expedition team members with Egyptian national security sanctions. I'm having a hard time figuring out what kind of sanctions Egypt could impose upon the former members of an expedition. And it's strange that they would be told not to communicate results that were already published. My guess is that if Hawass did tell Decordier to shut up, it was in reference to his pseudoscientific claim that the labyrinth had been found. I have little doubt that the scientists on the team wouldn't have wanted him discrediting their work by attaching outlandish claims to it. Decordier's statement, as you might guess, plays well in anti-establishment and anti-Hawass pseudo-history circles. The Egyptian government is trying to hide the truth. But more realistically, they just don't want Decordier spreading misinformation. And the idea that sanctions were imposed is hard to believe, since Decordier has a website devoted to the topic. So, to sum up, was there a labyrinth at Hawara? Loosely speaking, yes. Was it probably a magnificent building? Yes. Is it lost? Yes, there's nothing much left. Did the Mataha Expedition discover subterranean chambers? That's highly doubtful. I hope that answers your question. Thanks for your call. If you would like to leave me a voicemail, you can do so at speakpipe.com/David Miano. If you got something out of this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you'd like to support the channel, you can do so for as little as $2 per month at patreon.com/World of Antiquity. We'll talk again soon. You might like my little e-booklet, Why Ancient History Matters. It's designed to persuade people that the subject is important, even in the modern world. You might also wish to use it to help spread the word, so feel free to share it with someone you know. It's free for anyone who wants it. I've left a link in the description box below the video for you to grab a copy. Catch you later.